Just a couple minute heads up that we are going to start with the interacting with the microphones in addition to each other. But before we switch from the video, just wanted to let you know that I am trying to give you all the best. mingle and get comfortable and greet each other and get here. All right. Welcome, everyone, to the Remembrance for our family member and friend, and we're all family, of Charles Moss. Some of you knew him as Charles Xavier Moss, but that was not actually his real middle name. That might have had something to do with his fascination with the comic world, right? That's right. I would like to acknowledge Charles's family here in the front row. We have his brother William and his niece Kayla, and Simon and Wendy, and other family members that I didn't get to say, Melody and Mike. Hey. This is a warm, welcoming space, I hope, where you feel comfortable to come up here and to share with the folks that are here and the people who are watching from afar. Well, where do I start? I would like to invite any of the family members to come in and start the remembrance. However, I would like to let you know what the plan is, what's happening here today. I don't know if those online can see right now, but this entire venue is filled with art of Charles. And this is just a representation of a slice of his artistic life. And I'm gonna need y'all to give me some energy. And you know what? You'll see there are tissues all over the place, and it's okay to cry, but we're here to laugh, and we're here to send our friend and family member off to the next space where he's gonna continue doing whatever it is that he decides that he wants to do. All right? Everyone is going to have an opportunity to say their words today. If we overflow the space, we have an adjoining space, we will make sure that everyone has their time. And when everyone has had their say, and we get to share in this moment of celebration of our friend, then some of his musician friends who are represented in these paintings here are going to come up and make a joyous noise for us. The beauty about these paintings is that it represents a community that he was a part of and that he helped to build with his creative energy. And it was a really valuable part of his life. And I do recognize that we're representing Mojam Mondays quite a lot here, and it's simply that it was the era that was most documented, frankly. And that's why you're all here, is so that you can acknowledge the other eras in his life as well. What I can tell you about this art is that the last conversation that I had with him was about doing a showing here at the Seattle Drum School. And so I continued with that showing in honor of him, and how beautiful that we then were able to get some additional pieces contributed by the people who the paintings are of them. They own them, and they contributed to this event. And I invite you, if you have any Charles art, when you come up stage, to bring it with you. And we have stands where we can set it out. And for those who are not here and able to see the full scope of the artwork represented in this room, I invite you to take pictures and video of the art and represent Charles's artistic legacy. Okay. Are there any family members who would like to come up? All right, and I'm going to be doing this scratchy thing because that's what we're doing today.
I'm Charles's brother. I didn't know if I was going to speak today. He's um, he he was my whole world. I really don't know how to move forward.
We love you, William. Stay over
I'm not sure how I'm here. He meant the world to me. He could never do any wrong. Mom used to say that when we were smaller, that I would pick out his clothes for him for the next day. At a very young age, I was responsible for Charles. Make sure that he got home after school and had a snack. It was make sure he watched Spider-Man, the animated series. Even back then, he was into his comics. Thank you all for being here. It really means the world to me. And Charles really touched a lot of lives. That's not surprising to me. He's always been, his spirit has always been open to all sorts of possibilities. He's uberly talented. And a bright light to navigate by. Thank you all for coming.
I don't know, are we clapping? I don't know how this works. So this isn't a go row by row kind of thing. When you feel that you're ready to speak, I think come side stage and then there you are. So I think as long as we don't block walkways, we're cool. Kayla asked the next blood relative, are you interested in saying something? Okay, is that what we're here? Absolutely. Let me do my sanitation thing. We're doing that, or you can do that. You know what? That's not a bad idea. Everybody just take one of these when you come up. There we go.
I love Charles a lot. Charles is my brother. my brother from another mother, my chosen brother, my brother like no other. I first met Charles back in 1999, and we've been friends ever since. In 2005, he and I became roommates for the first of 3 times, and in the interim, he and I have lived together, almost 9 years, 10 years, longer than my ex-wife. So I've spent more time with Charles more than any other adult in my life. And I feel his loss greatly, but I also feel his presence. His art is up in my space, and his energy is always there. He is one of the most positive, chill, kind, and creative people I've met in my life. I've never seen him be unkind to anyone. He was constantly expressing his creativity with painting and making music, and I can still hear his laughter. His smile is as bright as the sun, and I think it's perfect that the sun is shining today for his remembrance. It makes me happy to see you all here to honor him. Thank you.
Everybody, just walk up as you feel.
Charles, I love you! I just want to make sure that he hears me, you know. In thinking about death, I know that some people celebrate when someone dies sometimes on some religions, and I like to think about that, with Charles, just going on to the next phase before we go, and him being there when it's my turn, So I'm happy for him. I try not to be sad and just be very, very grateful that he was my friend for such a long time. I met him in 2001 through some girlfriends, and we just ran into each other all the time for a few years there, whether it would be like on the dance floor dancing somewhere. I'm like, oh, look, there's Charles, and he'd come, I would DJ, and he would come and hang out with me. He'd be like, play an instrumental, and I'm gonna flow. And I'm like, okay, and one of the first time we did it is when that song 50 Cent came out, the 50 Cent song in the club. So I put the instrumental on, and he's on the mic, and he puts the mic down, and he looks at me, and he goes like, you're crazy. I'm like, okay. He's like, play me some Far Side. I'm like, okay. All right. So, we got to know each other like that. And, most recently, we throughout the years seeing each other, just being out and, through mutual friends, he was my guy that, we all have the COVID friend during COVID, the one or two people that you hang out with. He was one of my people. And I appreciated him because I'm immune compromised, and he also stayed, wasn't out doing things. He was very thoughtful that I couldn't be out either, and he just really took care of me. I recently became, well, not anymore, but I was sick for a while. And he was just there for me, you know, whatever you need. He took some days off for me from work to take me to the hospital so I can get surgery. And then I woke up and he was like walking in the room. Yeah, he was there. Took me home, you know. I only had maybe about 2 people who did stuff like that for me, but Charles was one of them. And I appreciate him so much. Like, I mean, we all know what great guy Charles is, but those are the things he did for me. You know, he would come over, we'd get some food. I mean, just the usual, you know, watch some back-to-back shows of, you know, whatever he wanted. He'd show me his art, what he was working on, his book. I mean, he was so artistic. He, you know, I just love him so much. I still love him. He's here. He's here with us. He's been kicking it with me all day, you know. So, and he's really happy right now, and he loves seeing you guys. Charles, I love you so much. Can't wait to see you again. Thanks.
So I don't remember exactly when I met Charles. I know it was sometime in my coffee shop that I used to own in the central area, and he'd come in there and we got to know each other, and he was just living down the street with Todd, and you know, we would talk about art, and I was doing photography and he's painting and rapping and just doing everything. And after a while, I don't remember exactly why, but he moved into my house, and he was the artist in residence, and it was myself and Charles and my 2 young daughters, and we just like cleared out the whole living room and turned it into an art studio. And Charles would get the girls when they were really little and set up little easels with them, and they would paint with him in the living room and just like use up all his materials and make a big mess, and it was just awesome. But you know, I just want to say about Charles, everything about Charles was good. His smile, talking shit in the kitchen, him and my brother, man, everything was on the table. Like, everything was on the table. Just the best times late at night, just like laughing and laughing. And it's Charles being Charles, you know. And I just wanted to share just a little picture into, you know, the part of that life that we got to share, me and the kids got to share. Charles was the person I felt really comfortable leaving at home with the girls. I'm like, Charles is there. I can go do other stuff now. So they'll be painting or doing something. But, you know, I'm just really glad you all got to know Charles. And, you know, he's doing whatever Charles is doing right now. But whatever he's doing, he's got that big, huge smile on his face. And he's laughing, probably thinking about something he's going to paint, maybe rapping or working on the next plan. But he's there. He's here, hanging out with all of us, and that's a good thing.
So my stories aren't quite as in-depth as your guys'. William and I went to high school together. So Charles, for a really long time, was William's brother. That was his official name. But as we got older, anytime William and I talked, it was always the same thing, you know, tell Charles hi. And then he'd go, oh, I talked to Charles. He said the next time I talk to you, make sure he said hi. And those were a lot of my Charles interactions for a really long time. But then as he got older, he started coming around, came to our house a few times, and for 4th of July, and God, you guys are right. What a beautiful spirit. Just that big smile and those big warm hugs, and it was just an awesome person, and I just always enjoyed any interaction with him that I ever had. And, oh, William. I do understand your pain having lost 2 brothers of my own, and people will tell you that, well, you'll learn to live with it. And it's not true. You're forced to live with it. And that's a big difference. And it's hard because when it's a sibling and you lose a sibling, it's like losing a really important part of a chain. And when that chain gets weakened, there's just no going back. But William, you are my sunshine, and you know I've told you that so many times. You are my ray of light. And there are days where you can be at your lowest point in life and razor to the wrist. And I call William, and I've told you this so many times, but my world is just brighter. The sky is bluer. I mean, it's just ridiculous at what the power that you have over me with your beauty and getting to know your brother and to see that he had that same light for other people, that same, I mean, what you guys feel for Charles is exactly what I feel for William. And I know this is about Charles, and I won't apologize for it. I know it's about Charles, but it's about you too, William. It truly is. And I just adore you, and I'm so glad that I got to know your brother as we grew up and becoming an adult and getting to really know him and not just giving him a name and not just being William's brother. That was, you know, the first time my husband met Charles, they talked literally for hours about the DC and Marvel universe. It was amazing. So as the pictures were going by, Mike says, "Do you see the pictures?" I'm like, "Well, yeah." He's like, "No, the pictures." I'm like, "What?" He goes, "See the Batman t-shirts? I'm just counting them." I'm like, "Oh, man." I am Team Superman. And I wrote down in my little card over there that I really would like to say Charles didn't know any better being a Batman fan, but mad respect. I mean, you ask him a question about Marvel and DC, and he had an answer, so I can't argue with that. But in spite of him being a Batman fan, he's truly just going to be missed, and I would have loved to have seen him just one more time, you know. But the last time he left my house with a big old thing of food, big, huge plate of food and a big old hug and a beautiful smile, and you too. Oh my God, thank you so much for just bringing him and letting me be just a little small fraction of his life, because I really loved him. He was so great. And I love you so much, William. I love you so much.
Hello. A little shorter than everyone else. Hello, everyone. My name's Athena. For those of you that don't know, the baby in a lot of these photos is me. Charles was always a really big influence in my life. I don't remember a world without him. And I thought I'd write this like whole nice thing, you know? And then I thought maybe it's better to just tell you about the last few times that I saw him. I don't live in Seattle, I live in New York. And so whenever I come to visit, there's a list of people that I have my mom contact and let them know that I'm here. And usually that list was pretty short, and Charles was always on it. And the first time, there was 3 times in January that we saw him. The first time he came over, and I was playing some music that I knew he would like, and he walked into the room dancing. And then we started talking about things that I was reading on the road. I had been doing a long road trip, and I mentioned that I had started reading some comic books. And Charles's face shocked, you know, and not your typical comic book reader, you know. And I looked at him and I said, "Are you surprised? You made me." And he laughed and had a witty response, and then I had to remind him that every cartoon I've ever watched, every comic book I've ever read, everything that's ever been animated in my life has made me think of him. And, you know, for a long time when I was a kid, I would see things in cartoons. Some of the photos that didn't make the edit are of me and Charles eating salad bowl fulls of cereal and watching probably Looney Tunes, because sometimes he would let me pick. I was probably 4, and I think he was the most fun person I knew. So after I reminded him about all of the reasons that he has influenced my taste in pop culture, we made a plan to go to some comic book stores together. And he planned out a whole day for me. He showed up to our house at 10 a.m. And if anybody knows me and my mom, we don't exist before noon. So Charles showed up at 10, and I said, "Okay, I'm ready." We went to the first store, and he was very excited that they had a copy of this book that he had been looking for. And I'm very sad I don't remember the name of it, but I can tell you that it did involve the Marvel Universe and not DC. And Charles told me this whole story about how he's bought this book maybe 7 or 8 times with the purpose of being able to share it with people, because he'd met enough people in his life that he thought would be able to appreciate it, that he thought it was worth owning to be able to share with those people at a moment's notice. And so he bought another copy that day. And then after that, I picked out a very small comic book, maybe 20 pages. And I was so proud of myself that Charles said he liked the illustrator and that he knew who it was. And that me, a novice, could pick something cool that someone with so much experience would appreciate. And then after that, he took me to Pike Place Market. And then he prepared me for going to a mall. And I didn't understand why we were going there. And then I realized he was taking me to a store where I could buy comic book themed clothing. Thus proving that Charles did in fact speak my language. He also included bubble tea, because he knows I need snacks. And then when we got back to our house, we watched an episode of the Harley Quinn cartoon, because he said I had to see it, even though he knew I wasn't going to watch anything else. And then we watched an episode of Fraggle Rock and decided that we would set up a date to watch the rest of it and bug Mom. Bothering her together was one of our favorite things. And then the last time that we saw Charles was for Mom's birthday. And unfortunately, we picked a really bad diner to go to. But Charles made the best of it. And then when Mom went outside, we planned to kidnap her for the day. We took her to Alki, and we made her walk around in the cold for about 5 minutes before she told us that she hated us. And then we went to a curiosities shop. And out of all of the strange things in that store, the thing he was most excited about was finding a crumb, which, for anybody interested in illustration and animation, crumb is very hard to find. And then we drove home, and we had a dance party in the car, as he explained to me why Justice could possibly be a religious techno group. And I told him that was crazy, that they cursed a lot, and I listened to them in college, and he was behind. And then I told him I'd make him a playlist. And I actually started on it. Unfortunately, never got a chance to give it to him. When I first got the call from Mom, the first thing I said was, I've never had time stolen from me like this. And while the rest of you, or most of you, have many stories and many years with him, I was just starting. And while I've known him my whole life, and he's always been a big influence, there's many things that I wanted to ask him. And I really wanted to finish Fraggle Rock. And sometimes I agonize about him seeing how much I've cried. And then I think that he would tell me it doesn't matter and I should do what I want to do. And then I put on one of the last songs that we danced to together, and I try not to cry anymore. I really appreciate you all being here, and I look forward to meeting those of you that I haven't yet. Charles was a really special person to me. He wasn't my father, and he wasn't my uncle, but he was definitely more than a friend. And I miss him every day. Thank you.
My name's Jay Scott. I was one of Charles' coworkers. To the rest of my coworkers, I'm proud to serve with you. Well over half or 3/4 of our whole branch is here today to honor Charles. Our boss closed the branch, never done before that I know of, turned the phones off, gathered us all on the sales floor to impart the news of Charles' passing. I was angry. And I know the stages of grief. My mother wrote textbooks about it. But also in my 65.5 years, one of my wisdoms is that when someone or something makes me angry or any hard emotion, I first look inside to see what it is in my life that is incomplete, undone, or unsaid. I was angry Charles, never Chas or Charlie or Chuck. Did he have a nickname? That we never went for a beer after work. Does he drink beer? I was angry his family and mine would never camp at my retirement ranch. Do you have a family? Did he like to camp? Play cards all night. Did he play cribbage? And make coffee to watch the dawn break silently with our resident tribe of deer. On a workday morning, if Charles wasn't in the front yard or the entry will call, I would walk around the branch to the back office entrance in hopes of getting his morning greeting. It was just my name, spoken loudly, but with an inflection that somehow I had righted his world just by showing up to work. Charles was a mathematician, an emotional wizard. He added joy, multiplied respect, and loved exponentially, quietly, without reciprocity. He became the soul of our warehouse. We are now soulless. And in seeking solace, we only have each other. I wrote this the afternoon that they told us that Charles was gone. Charles Moss, he blazed across our workaday lives, 400 only, like a shooting star across the midnight sky, causing joy, delight, and wonder. He radiated love like a noonday sun, and his morning greeting was sought after. He touched our lives like a classic guitarist plucking the strings of a favorite melody. And after the star is blackness, but we still look up. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, or yo, as Charles would say. I already missed that. The warm embrace and the chuckles. He always has been quick to smile genuinely and laugh at any given chance. At least since I've known him. We've been friends for nearly 20 years. We've been making art around one another for nearly as long. Our friendship was quick to start and will, for my part, never fade away. If you knew him at all, you probably liked him, and if you knew him for any length of time, you loved him. It's easy to love somebody with a smile in their eyes, a passion for beauty, and so much heart. Charles was pretty much all heart. As a lover of laughter, I wonder if he would chuckle at the irony that his heart brought us all here, well before any of us was ready. Charles loved rap and rhyme, the ways words can be woven and wrapped between and around meanings and sound to compound the impact of a message intentional or expressing a vision surreal. His words would play upon sound and percussive alliteration, ignoring the actual meanings or a need for clarification. An irony, of course, is that as I threw these words together to talk about my friend, I was unable to find a rhyme for Charles by the end. Thank you to everybody who supported his love of creating and performing. Thank you so very much to his family for letting us be here. And everybody else who helped put this together. Thank you, Charles, for inspiring me to continue making art. You would be happy to know that that huge triptych I started with you and Todd is heading to a gallery tomorrow to be shown and hopefully sold. I think you'd love it. And I hope you were with me in spirit these last weeks as I completed it. You were certainly on my heart and in my mind. On my mind and in my heart. Thank you, Charles, for always being my friend. You were one of the best of us.
I met Charles when I was 6. And one of my first memories with him was at our coffee shop. And it's the first he did a painting in the coffee shop bathroom, a beautiful mural of Seattle. And I sat with him in the bathroom the whole day and asked him questions about what he was painting. And endless 6-year-old kinds of questions that were just, why this, why this, why this, what's this, where is that from? And he would laugh and he just answered them all, and I was obsessed with what he was doing. And then eventually he moved in with us, and it was otherwise a really difficult time for me as a kid. I had a lot of changes happening in my life, but Charles was around and was a rock and was an adult in my life who wasn't a parent but was solid. And he introduced me to Smallville. And it was the first superhero show I had ever watched that wasn't animated, and I thought that was very cool that they didn't have to be animated to be superhero shows. And he taught me why Batman was better than Superman. And he had 2 mugs. He had 2 mugs in our kitchen, and the 2 mugs were a Batman and Superman mug. And I always said, "Why do you have both? I don't understand why you have both." And he would dance around the house. And I would make fun of him for no reason, just because I liked him so much, I guess. And now I'm a painter, and I just after he wasn't living with us anymore, we didn't see him as much, and I always knew that a really big reason why I'm a painter is because of Charles, and I always kept thinking, I have to invite Charles to this next show. But I'm like, I'm just this kid. I'm good. Anyway, I actually, Thursday morning after he passed, I looked him up on Facebook so I could invite him to my upcoming shows. And I was just scrolling through his Facebook, and I was like, Charles. I love this person so much. And then a couple days later, my mom was like, "Hey, we don't have him anymore." So, I really resonate with saying you're so young and losing him so soon. This is, thus far in my life, the biggest death to affect me. And I have cried a lot in these. So
My name's Jack Foster, and I worked with Charles in the late 90s and the early 2000s at Kinko's, of all places. And, you know, Charles and I weren't really close, but one of the things that I'm kind of responsible, or at least I've taken on the group of everybody we used to work with. We get together every 5 years, have a little reunion. And, you know, everybody's just like, what about Charles? Is Charles going to be there? And it was amazing how many people, you know, there's a couple dozen of us that we still get together, and how much he touched their lives. And I didn't really realize it, you know, until now, which is kind of sad in a way. But I look around this room and I see what an incredible soul he was. I mean, his art and his music, and just, you know, like other people mentioned before, I've never seen him, you know, I worked with him for 6 years every day, and never seen him once be angry, and he was just always so positive. So, you know, one thing I just wanted to say is it's like there's so many people, like I might have mentioned, that touched, at least at Kinko's, the people that we still get together with, you know, from Sabrina to Ashley to Melissa to you know, I'm forgetting a lot of people that probably are live streaming this right now, but I just wanted to say how sorry I am for everybody in this room and everybody who he touched. You know, he was an incredible person, and I'm really glad the little time I get to spend with him. I'm really glad that I had that time with him. So, anyway.
Hi, I'm Soda Wang. I don't remember when I met Charles, but I do remember one thing, which is that when we were little, my parents would always tell my sister and I not to bother Charles so much. But he was definitely the coolest person and probably my favorite person that I knew, and I always wanted to be there in his room watching him paint or watching Smallville or the other show with the cheerleader who like regenerates. Oh, Heroes, yeah. And my favorite memory is when my sister and I were with him in his room, and in my notebook we had come up with these characters. I think there was like Peanut Butter Boy and Peanut Butter Girl, and he drew these comics for us, and it was really, really fun. And I'm always thinking about Charles, and I'm always thinking about how much I miss him and how I wish that I could see him again. So it's really sad that he passed away. And like my sister, this is probably the hardest death that we've had to go through in these past few years. I also would like to thank him for introducing me to frozen grapes because they're really delicious. And thank you for letting me eat your frozen grapes, too. Yeah.
I know there are, oh, hey. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you all for sharing. I know there are some folks who are in the lobby and maybe hanging out outside around the building. If anyone would like to holler out there and ask them if they have anything that they would like to come to say. Anyone? It's no peer pressure. Just want to make sure that everybody who has words has the opportunity to do that. William, online, Sabrina sends love. Yes. I know not all y'all Facebook, but the number of people that shared and commented all had some universal truths to speak about Charles, and I promised that all of those comments will be given to the family, but frankly there were such an overwhelming number that there's no way that I could read them all here. So if you're not on Facebook, you can do that. I also anticipate that we'll put together those words and make sure that the family gets them. The mic is open for anyone who has words. And
me this stuff, man. I met Charles through Karen in like the late 90s. I mean, back in the, what was it, the Art Bar days, Karen? Art Bar days, 700 Club, early Sea Monster. And Charles was always the coolest person in the building. Cool as a fan. Like somebody else said, never saw him angry or upset. Always a joy to be around. He was the bright light in the building. And as we get older, we realize how much of that bright light we need, because it's a dark place out there, man, if you're really looking. And we need more light, and it just is sad and it sucks that another bright light got diminished before its time. And my deepest condolences to his family and all his close friends. And I'm gonna miss him too, because he was cool as a fan and the brightest light in the building. And I need more light in my life, and I hope y'all do too. So above the clouds to Charles, above the clouds, man, for real.
It's all right. I gotta collect myself.
You know, it's really amazing to hear such, like you were saying, such similarities with all the different perspectives, which actually seem to really line up so perfectly. And it's the same that I experience too. You know, it echoes through us all. I think one of the, it's like I'm only just now kind of starting to process it myself, but it's incredible. It was incredible to watch him immortalize all these people. Like I think I know every single person in all of these paintings, and to watch him explain how he did his process, his absolute love for just, I mean, this, look at it. It radiates all the light and color and love that he projected out. And knowing him as a I can't say I know him as incredibly well, obviously, as all of you right here in front of me. The main thing I really want to say is that you're all right. He was, and still is, even after, an incredibly bright light in so many lives. And it's going to echo on and echo on and echo on, because he's encouraged so many people to look deeper into themselves and into each other and to love each other no matter what. The one thing I really remember is how he made sure nobody went hungry. And I don't think anybody mentioned that. I want to say that he was very adamant about that. You know, if there isn't food available, he made it happen. You know. It is amazing. It's really amazing when you come across somebody that has so much how do you say, just unconditional love. I guess that's probably the best way to say it. I'm so sorry for your loss. It's a loss in this whole planet. But I'm sure he'll be back, and we'll see this art somehow come through somebody and be like, that reminds me of somebody, or something. You know, he's not going to stop, right? Anyways, I don't know. I kind of really wanted to just share that memory of just how much, God dang, the joy and the love he would, like, you look at him and the smile would transfer over to you, right? You know, like that energy would just transfer over, and that's so unique. It's so hard to come across people like that. And so, and when I saw the art down in the room that I normally see it in all the time, that's when it really hit me. And so it's incredible to see all of it together. So I do hope you do take pictures and all that, because wow. Anyways, I'm done. My condolences to all of you.
I'm gonna say something. You know what?
Nobody's been on that one yet.
I'm gonna speak on it for a minute, if I may. I didn't really know Charles. As a matter of fact, I'd have to say I didn't know him really at all. I think I only met him a handful of times. I got to watch him work a few times. Mojams, we're all familiar. Most of these people you see on the wall, a great deal of them I've worked with, exist in a community with, work with here at the Seattle Drum School. Had a chance to get to know KZ and her daughter quite a bit more. Now, I've known KZ, really dear friend of Charles, for a number of years, and she started working here within a year recently. And I've always had a great deal of respect and admiration for her. And that just deepens the more time you spend with a person, you get to know them more intimately, especially when we work with them every day. The thing that has struck me this afternoon, and also all the art that's on the wall, this was our first, here at the Seattle Drum School, participation in the Art Attack, the art walk down here in Georgetown. KZ made that happen. She brought us into the community on another level, extended the reach and presence of this teaching institution, which is largely staffed by a lot of members of the committee, which you see on the wall here. The thing that struck me the most, and I was talking to Davey about this outside for a minute, as I've been walking through the building and listening and taking photos and monitoring stuff, and last night we were here to the wee hours, kind of putting this all together to make sure it was happening. It never really hit me, you know, I've been watching her and her daughter go through a lot of stuff, like most of you, who knew him very well in recent past, and it struck me today that because of the people I know and the impact that Charles had, whether it's a friend, family, his art, his legacy, I guess it's a true measure of a person that when you remove them from the present and everything they leave behind has touched everybody so profoundly, whether it's an instant, a lifetime. And that kind of translated through all of y'all to me this afternoon. And I guess I have a unique perspective because I'm kind of looking at it from the outside. But I guess I'd have to say one other thing is that, you know, I played a Mojam as a featured artist a number of times, and once with our band, Closed Circuit. And Charles painted us, right? And at the end of the night, I had a chance to see it, and I was like, wow, that's really, really cool. And at that moment, I was like, man, I should get that. And then I didn't move on it. And then afterward, I started thinking, I was like, you know what, I gotta get that painting. I don't care what it costs, you know. It's worth it. I mean, you know, honestly, in another sense, it's like, well, how often do you get painted, you know? How often are you immortalized in portrait in somebody's art? You're the subject of, you know, their inspiration. And I reached out to KZ about it, and so she made it happen, and I eventually got the painting a little bit later, and it's like, you know, I guess he sold to me for really what I thought was like a pittance. And, you know, my mother was a professional artist, well known, the reason for a long time, but different story, but I was more than happy. It was almost like name your price. I mean, I gotta have that painting. There it is. It's sitting in my studio ever since. It's been on my wall. It's been on my Facebook portrait for a long time. And then suddenly he's gone now. And I thought to myself when I bought that painting, I was like, well, apart from the fact that, you know, this is, a really specific, rare moment in time, and the other part of me, I was like, well, you never know. This brother might actually become famous one day, and this painting might be worth a lot of money at some point. But then the other thing that really was is like, it was his thing. I really dug it. I loved his perspective. I liked the fact that he's touched so many people that I know in the community. That is very evident here this afternoon. And it's a unique phenomenon when you don't really know somebody, but you know so many other people, and every single one of y'all have pass that along. And even though I didn't know him as much as you did, I felt moved to get up here and speak in front of you. That says a lot about this individual, but this you already know. So it's an honor to be in this room with all of y'all. It's an honor to know and work with some of the people in this community for so long that have been touched and moved by him. And it's an honor to have somebody like him move through our lives. So may he rest in peace, and thank you.
I just want to add that one of the things I really like about Charles is that you can be listening to a song and just feel like dancing, and he would dance with you, you know? And all of a sudden you're in a dance party in the middle of your living room. Anyway, okay. So Sabrina on the live chat says, here we go. Charles and I met on my 21st birthday at my first day of work at Kinko's in downtown Seattle in 1998. From that day forward, he remained one of my truest and closest friends. I think of Charles as my chosen adult friend. I was new to Seattle and young single mom, and he immediately enveloped me and Heaven, my daughter, into his life. Through Charles, we also got to know and love William, and together, coupled with our Kinko's family, Seattle became home for us. Charles and I were on the same wavelength, peas and carrots, twin souls, and the best and realest connection. There's no one like Charles. His laugh was infectious energy, always vibing with kindness. He met every single person he encountered exactly as they were, with zero judgment. In fact, I've never seen him be unkind to anyone ever. On top of this, he was an incredible artist, and he thankfully shared his talents lovingly with the world. May he be somewhere deserving of his greatness and his joy, and I hope that one day I get to meet him again. My Charles, my homie, my truest friend, do that. Love, Sabrina. Thank you, Sabrina. Is there anything else here? I'll look for another one and come back and read it after maybe someone else has talked about Charles. You know, Charles talked about work a lot, and it would be really cool to hear about Charles at work somewhere.
Hi, everyone. My name is Cody. I worked with him since probably about September. I've been trying to think of what to write on the little memory cards this whole time, and I've even been trying to think of something to say, and nothing has really came to me. I've thought of different memories. I've thought of just stuff that we talked about, like Spider-Man, or little like moments that he shared from like shows or something. Thought about how much that he was just always more than willing to do whatever he could to help you. If it was a conversation, if it was helping us pick a big order, it was whatever. He always wanted to help. He was like, he just wanted to be there to help you as much as he could. I was really looking forward to him being like one of my friends for the rest of my life, and I guess he is in a way, but kind of like someone said earlier, I feel like time has been robbed from me. I feel cheated in a way that I didn't think that I would ever feel. And again, this like it's strange to think. I haven't lost too many people in my life, but it's strange to think that Charles is passing, someone that I've known for not even a year, that I knew, has affected me in such a way that I wasn't sure that I would like ever be affected. I know that's strange to say. But Charles meant a lot to me, and I don't know. It's everything that everybody has said here. Kind of just drove home for me that, like, yeah, no, I do feel comfortable calling him my friend, and I hope that he considered me his friend. I'm gonna miss him a lot. I'm gonna miss him a lot. Thank you.
I'm Rob. I work with Charles as well, and I have to follow Cody's message, because I loved hearing Charles and the rest of the team always talking about Marvel. Sorry. Loved to hear him talking about Marvel. I have a 22-year-old son, so I've been to a lot of Marvel movies. I don't understand Marvel. I don't know what I have a vivid memory of walking in the lunchroom and hearing Cody and Charles. They were sitting down eating lunch, and they were talking about Marvel, and I was in there for about 5-10 minutes, and I loved it, but I still didn't understand it because I don't know Marvel. But to Cody's point, and to everybody else, I mean, the common theme is Charles just helped. He would help anybody do anything. And Cody and I laughed and then cried, I think, a week or so ago about an incident that we had with Charles. It was Charles and Cody and I were the last ones there, and it was probably 6:30, 6:45, and we were done. Cody and Charles had just finished the last order, and Cody came up and was talking to me. And Cody, normally it's my idea to kind of joke around, but I think it was Cody's idea this time. And Cody said, let's tell Charles that we have another big order that we have to get done before the end of the night. So Cody, we used radios at work to communicate. And Cody radioed Charles. We didn't know where he was at. We knew he was somewhere out in the warehouse. And he radioed Charles and said, hey, Charles, there's one more order. And he rattled off, it was for those of you that work with us will understand, but he rattled off that it was a very large pipe order, which can take some time. And Cody's looking at me as we're waiting for him to respond, and then you hear this on the radio, okay. And then he comes walking around the corner, and he was probably 30 feet away from us, and he just said, okay, let's go. I'll help you, Cody. And then Cody and I start laughing, and we're like, there's no last order, Charles. But that was Charles. I mean, he didn't come around the corner with his head down or being frustrated about that. He was ready to go. He was absolutely ready to go. And I think, again, everybody in here has talked about just how welcoming he has been or is, and just the fact that he would do anything for everyone. So I'm really fortunate to have known him. I had the opportunity a couple times. We went on a couple job site deliveries. I went with him, and it was about a 30-minute drive to the site. We had to help move a tub from one room in a remodel to another room, and then another half an hour back to the branch. So we got to talk, and I purposely didn't talk about work in those times, because we work with each other all day long, and I like to hear about Charles. And he talked to me about his upbringing, and he talked about you, a tremendous amount about you growing up and the jobs he had done and mowing lawns. He talked to me about that. Talked to me about how he really enjoyed the landscaping. And then when it snowed, when we got that really big snowstorm here last winter, Charles made it in for, the first couple days, and then it got more and more icy, and he couldn't make it in. His tires were, he said, a little bit too bald for that. So, and when he called me, he said, "I'm sorry, I really wish I could be there." And I said, "Well, if you're willing," and I said, "No pressure. If you just want to stay home, I get it. But can I come get you and bring you in, and we'll get you home?" And he said, "Absolutely." And I went and got him, and again had about a 30 to 40 minute drive back, and purposely didn't talk to him about work, because I wanted to know about Charles. And he told me about his time in New York, which I didn't know about. He was there for, a lot of you know this, but some of you don't. He was there during 9/11. And he talked about that situation and how tough it was, and went into a little bit of hard times after that. And he told me about how he wanted to move back to Seattle. And he explained that, I think I said, "Well, how'd you do it?" And he said, "I used to go down and paint." He said, "New Yorkers love New York, right?" He said, "I'd go paint a building or a church or Central Park, and people would come up and say, 'Can I buy this?' And he'd say, 'Absolutely.' And then people would come up and they'd ask him if he did self-portraits, and he'd say, 'Sure, sit down.' And then at one point, he talked to me about the difficulty getting back to Seattle, and he's told me he sold his art to come back here. And I thought that was pretty neat, that what he loves to do helps him get back to Seattle, where he loved to live. So anyways, thanks for letting me take the time, and my condolences to all the family.
My name's Orion. I'm an artist, and I live painted with Charles a whole bunch of times at Mojam. The time that I was doing that was probably 2014, and I went there a lot for a couple of years. That was probably the worst and toughest time in my life, getting a divorce and being a single dad of a very young kid. And I used to go to Mojam and just have this cathartic live painting expression. Charles and I would often sit at tables and sketch in our sketchbooks before we would start doing paintings and stuff, and he was always there just chill, talking about whatever was going on in his life, or I could talk to him about problems or just art and all kinds of things. I respected him a lot with how driven he was. He came to every single Mojam, always painted the person who was featured. I would paint kind of anything I wanted, but he was always wanting to represent the people and what they were doing and their personality. And that's a selflessness that he had that came through in his art, but he was really trying to just represent something positive from these other people, as you see. Yeah, I hear stories from these other artists who have been affected by him or inspired. I would really like to do a art show of art inspired by him. If any of you guys want to talk to Karen or talk to me, we could figure that out. I think it'd be cool. And another thing, sort of apropos to how I found out about him passing, I'd been talking to Mo about this drum book, about how to teach drum technique to kids and stuff. And Charles had actually done some illustrations for that in the past. And yeah, Mo had spoken to me recently about it, and I sort of flaked on her and didn't respond. And I saw a post with Charles's illustrations from it, and I thought, oh, they're gonna work on it. That's awesome. Charles is the right person for this. Like, his illustrations are so positive, and for kids to see this, like, he's better than me, he should do this. And that was actually posted when Mo had found out that he had already passed, and I didn't know, and I totally in my mind thought, oh, I'll see him again, and they'll be doing that, and like, this is awesome. So when I found out, it hit me really hard. It really surprised me, and I just reflected a lot about my own mortality as an artist and like what's left behind. I felt like, I don't know, like, people's reaction to this is very much like it would be for me in this way, and it really tripped me out. And I've spent a few weeks just like drawing him. I started this like the day I found out and just worked on it for a long time. So yeah, I want to give this to his brother. I was gonna make copies just to like give them to people here, but I didn't get to it. I've had a lot going on. But yeah, I can post this. I can make copies. We can find each other. My name's Orion. I'm on Facebook, and Orion the Painter on Instagram, but you can track me down. I'll hook you guys up or send them to you wherever you are. I'm going to give this to you, William. But yeah, I just want to say, for me, like, it's easy to look at his artistic legacy and all this stuff, and he and I have very different approaches to art, and he always made me consider like just the value of what art is to other people. Like, I look at it as a painter very much. I'm looking at it technically, but that's not the value of art. Like, the value of art is positivity and what other people are seeing in it, and it's not about your own thing, and it's not about like perfect realism and perfection and all these things that I totally obsess about in my art. Like, and it really is informative to me, changed my perspective about things. And just to say, like, his legacy is, for me, is very much in his sort of positive attitude and his selfishness about it and his looseness and exploration within this medium that he's exploring, you know what I mean? So just to say, that's an incredibly honorable thing, I think, for an artist to have all this stuff to leave behind, but what is taken from it is still the person that he was, and that is coming through in the art, and it's not just the pieces, you know. So yeah, much love. Can we all say, I love you, Charles? I love you, Charles. Word. All right, much love. Talk to me soon.
Hello? If I forgot it. We'll get these. My name is Davey, and I've known Charles probably 8 years or so. I would see him every Monday at Mojams. So for most of these paintings in here, I was standing alongside him talking about Marvel, art, and music every Monday. We got deep. Most of the times we were just laughing. Lots of laughing. Just last year, I released an album for one of my bands, and I wanted him to do the artwork. So he did the artwork for me, and that was maybe a year and a half ago, and the last time I talked to him was July last year or so. And I told him the album was out, so I sent him a copy. Anyway, what he did, his creative process is amazing. I mean, he captured exactly what I kind of had him do, which was really nothing. I go, I just want you to listen to the lyrics and just do what you think, whatever, however the music is hitting you. And he did that. And all these posters in here, or paintings, is the same thing. This is what he's thinking when listening to music and capturing that moment. I'm an inspiring artist too. I used to draw a lot when I was younger, and a lot of his style reminds me of my early stuff. So I guess in a way he's kind of inspired me to try to get back into it slowly. So that was good. Yeah. My condolences to the family, and yeah.
Hi, I'm Mo from Mojam Mondays, and Charles, he came out to Mojam, I think, since I first met KZ, which was June 2014. And when he first started coming out, I was just amazed at how he'd start the night with a blank canvas, and somehow he'd capture the whole night and the energy from that night in one painting. And it was just incredible. I mean, he probably did hundreds and hundreds of paintings. This is only a small percentage of the paintings that he did at Mojam. And they're all out there. And, you know, it's exciting to think that his legacy goes on in these paintings and, you know, the houses that they'll live in forever. And he's a part of that. And I like to think that he lives on in each of these paintings, and it's just really special that, you know, I remember when my aunt gifted me the painting he painted of me. She went through Charles to arrange it, and it was just so sweet how the end of that night how he surprised me with the painting and said, "It's yours," and I was just like, oh my gosh, it was just the sweetest thing ever. And yeah, I'm really missing Charles, and really grateful that he was a part of my event, our event, for so long. And I feel like his spirit's there every Monday, and especially when we get painters out, you know, he's an inspiration of that. So, to Charles. Yeah.
Hello. Hi. My name's Johnny, and when I moved back to Seattle in 2005, Charles was my neighbor with Todd here, and he was the first person I reached out to as a new friend in Seattle. He just had that like kind of comfort, someone that I just felt you could just talk to him and say hello, and he would be responsive. I remember one of the things, like one of the little details I remember of Charles was that we had a shared laundry, and sometimes you find someone else's laundry, you know, and move it through. And whenever Charles found my laundry in the dryer, he would always fold all my laundry instead of putting it in the hamper. And I just thought that that's something that speaks to who he was, because if there was something nice that you could do, that he would do that. And I just love seeing all this art here of his. I just feel like it brings his presence into this room so much. So I know we're all going to miss Charles, so thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ignacio. I used to I worked with Charles at Consolidated Supply, and there's so many things I could say about him. One thing that was very memorable was his laughs, and it was really like addictive to me. So I always try to get him to laugh, and anything I said, he just kind of chuckled, and I was like, oh, like, what's the next thing I'm gonna plan to like get him to laugh and all? And it just kind of made work a little bit more like easier to be there. And so I always looked forward going to the next day just to be like, all right, Charles, like, this is my next joke for you. And I really wanted to get to know him as well, so I always asked him like after work, like, oh, you want to come hang out like this weekend? Me and some friends are gonna go kick it at some kind of club. And he was always just like, oh, I would love to, but not right now. And he always gave me that same response every week that I tried to get him to hang out. But there was one moment where I was carless, and he gave me some rides home, and that's where I really got to know him. And he shared with me a lot of like who he was, and like all the stories that he had, like when he lived in New York, and the times he worked at Kinko's. And he was like, yeah, this is kind of what I did. And so it kind of made me like really close with him. I've only known him like less than a year, but it made me feel like I've known him for like many years. And he just had that aura that just like, I never really felt judged from him. And so, yeah, I just kind of missed that. And I was really excited for him to come back to work when he was on vacation. But then when I heard about his passing, it was really difficult to get over that. But I'm sure many of you feel the same way. And so my condolences to everybody who's known him. It was really privileged to get to know him. So thank you for your time.
I know Charles as an artist, but I'm a musician, and I've only met him a handful of times. A big part of making art is being confident in yourself. And I've had a lot of time in my life where I haven't been very confident. I'd say that's probably the biggest influence he had on me. Even though I didn't meet him very much or know him very well, I think of him every time I get out my art supplies and look at musicians and try to capture it the way that he did when he would walk out in front of me at the stage and kind of just take it in for a while. And then he would know when the moment is that he would know what he's going to do, and he would capture it. I aim to be as fearless as he was, and as he continues to play a huge role in my life. I just wanted to share that it largely is the love that you guys speak of, and everything that you guys have been talking about. But for me, because of my experiences with him, it was his fearless attitude toward knowing what he can do and doing it for others. So that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
So my name is Patrick. I was, or I am, the boss at Consolidated Supply. So Charles got to work for me, but I'd rather say that I got to work with him. Hearing your guys' stories today is amazing. He touched a lot of people. This is awesome. Shutting down the branch that morning to tell the team the news, it's probably one of the hardest things I've done in my life. You can see how many he touched. We take up probably the back 3 rows. So thank you, team, for showing up and showing up for him. To his family, very sorry. To anyone here who had to share the news of his passing, I understand how difficult that was. It's still very difficult. But the positive news for Charles is, and I have a lot of my team here, and I'll say this unapologetically, he was the best team member that I had on my team. Charles would do anything for anybody at a moment's notice. You heard a joke we tried to play. Without hesitation, Charles is over it. Sometimes to his own peril. He'd take on more than he could handle. We have customers coming in that need their material, and you would hear Charles over the radio, well, I'm finishing up one order right now, but then I can jump into that one, and somebody called for another one. He's like, okay, well, I got one more in front of that, and then I can jump into that one. Just Charles was always trying to help anybody. So with that, to keep his memory alive, and something that I will not take all the credit for, because something we kicked around as a leadership team, and I just announced it to my team at our last branch meeting on Tuesday, we're now going to have a monthly Charles Moss Spirit Award. Just something that's for our team to vote on who was the most team-oriented player that we had for that month, and who's willing to do anything for anybody and put them first, because that's who Charles was and is. And it's something that it's going to be darn near impossible to replace, but we felt it was important to keep his legacy alive, to try every day to do what Charles would have us do, and that's help unapologetically for anybody that needs it. So that's all that I have. I wanted to share that with you guys, and thank you. And thank you for having him come find us. It was amazing. So thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for sharing. If there's anyone in the lobby or outside who would like to get their opportunity to say their words, now is the time. If somebody near the door can holler at the folks. I absolutely love that there's so much community in this room. There's such a interweb created by this incredible human being. I guess that means it's my turn, unless somebody's coming up. Mr. Ernie. All right, come on.
Hi, everybody. My name is Ernie. Give me a second. It's a little hard. I moved to Seattle trying to figure out what type of artist I wanted to be. And was also trying to figure out my own personal identity as a person of color in the city. And I felt isolated for a while, for a long period after moving to Seattle, for a good 2 years before I found people that I felt understood me. And that really changed when I found Bojangles. I think we can all agree that Charles was pretty nerdy. And I'm also pretty nerdy. And growing up as a black kid, I didn't really fit in with a lot of people in my community. And I was scared that it was going to be like that moving to Seattle. And I remember the first day I met Charles, I wasn't sure if I was going to play. It was my first time really kind of showcasing myself on my own in Seattle. But he instantly just made me feel like it was okay to just be myself. And then I remember we had a conversation about specifically black nerdom and how weird it is. And he gave me the best advice of just you being you is you being black. And it changed my perspective of how I looked at myself of I don't have to be anything other than to fit into something. I could just be me. And he was a shining example of that, from just being kind and unapologetically loving all of the things that he loved. I remember after playing for the first time and just really still feeling so self-conscious and not sure how I fit with it, and he was just like, this is what you're supposed to do. And that was the start of the friendship, but it just never ended from that point. We had so many conversations in person, on the internet, with groups of just identity and what it means to have authenticity. And I think that's the greatest lesson that he ever gave me, was how to just truly be authentic. No matter what, just do you. And I honestly don't think I'd be doing music the way that I do now if it wasn't for that piece of advice, that sense of realism. And then he also taught me the other greatest lesson, which is just serve people. The greatest joy you can get is by sharing that workload with someone else and helping them get to where they're trying to go. And he was the perfect example of that. Never asked for anything back. He just did it because he felt it needed to be done. So for that, I'm grateful for the time that I've shared with him. I'm grateful for the connection that it's brought me with everyone in this room. People I've never met before. Being able to relive Charles through all of your eyes is, it's kind of the blessing that hurts that you didn't know that you needed, but once you receive it, it makes your life that much stronger. I can see him through every single person I'm looking at right now. And it's amazing that one person can have that effect. And I strive to be just as half as kind as he was to me and to everyone around, no matter who they were. So for that, I'm incredibly thankful. So thank you very much for your time.
with all the talking of Batman and Superman and Spider-Man and everybody, I felt like we would be remiss to talk about Charles and not mention the Hulk. So.
All right, so musicians on deck. I do want to make sure that everyone has said their words. This has been so incredibly powerful that I thank you for blessing this space with all of this love. And if there's anybody on this entire earth that I know that deserved it, it's this guy right here. So, I've been knowing this guy for coming up on 30 years. It's a long time. It's a mighty long time. We met in the early 90s, and we were just kids. He was a student at the Art Institute and worked overnight as a shuttle driver for a airport hotel. And I was recently relocated to Seattle with my infant daughter and working overnight at Kinko's. So where do you think an art student goes at night? They go to Kinko's. And we bonded over our mutual love of Prince, my admiration of his art, and his ability, as everyone has talked about, to be just an amazing friend who could take anything that you give to him and be okay with it. You are who you are. And, you know, he actually had some pretty extensive philosophies about just let people be people. So I did actually bring some art. Believe it or not, this envelope is double decades old. And these are pieces that I was smart enough when I was working on his projects with him in the middle of the night to make my own color copies. And actually, if anybody sees Athena out there anywhere, will you holler at her to come here? Because I have her piece of art to share as well. And I'm going to put these over here on the stands. And if any of you also brought art, please put them up here so that people can take pictures and enjoy them. So I don't know, I think this was a comic book cover, like the background of it, you know, before we had Photoshop and you had to, you know, do things a different way. We've got a page from a comic book where superhero figures are clinging to a window, but it's not Spider-Man, so he had his own characters, always did. And I think Andre has a copy of his comic book. I don't know if you brought it today, but he did actually create at least one, I think a couple comic books that he had published, like not for distribution, but like, you know, small batch printing. And they're incredible. You know, but like most artists, he was into the creation part and not the business part. So basically, I think what I'm showing you is the start of a 30-year relationship of me going, wow, man, you're talented. Like, people need to know about you, and what you do is special. Charles, you're gonna, or not, I'm sorry. William, I've known them so long, it's pretty much freaking interchangeable. I wish I put some dates on these. But yeah, he had his own little characters. I'm gonna put these things up here for you all to enjoy. You know, I couldn't begin to share memories of Charles with you because there's just so many of them. Like the phases in our lives, we were just always connected, with the exception of the couple years that he went off and had his New York adventures. You know, he was the kind of fellow that I trusted to be around my daughter for our entire lives. He and I spent most of the 90s chasing live music around Seattle. And I really wish that he was here because I don't remember a lot of it, and he probably does. I know we saw some incredible stuff. Knew where all those after hours spots were, I'll tell you that. Yeah, just an incredible human being. And I know that I could stand up here and talk for hours about him. But yes, that laugh echoes in my brain. I actually have already experienced Charlesisms, where in my head I'm like, what would Charles say? What would Charles want? What would he do? But he's always been my beacon for sanity in that way. I mean, except for when it comes to the comic book thing, like, you know, that was definitely, he had a little level of insanity on that part. But as far as being just a human being and a measure of decency and kindness and acceptance, he has always been the person that I look to measure and feel and compare to. And that's not ever going to end. And so for that, I absolutely love him forever. The last time that we hung out with Athena, she told me afterwards that he said to her that he just knows that he and I were always going to be in each other's lives. And it's still a truth. That hasn't changed. I don't know how to close this out, you know? It's not like I haven't been thinking about what am I going to say about my best friend, right? And best friend doesn't necessarily mean that we talked every day. Like, there were years where we'd see and talk to each other every day, and then there were years where, you know, maybe we'd touch base every couple months, but we always knew that each other was there. And there have been things that have already happened just in this short amount of time where I'm like, damn it, I want to call him and talk to him about the Oscars slap. Like, what does he think about this? and then it's like a new shot through the heart where that hole is there. And that hole's not going to go away. And so I think it's really special to have this and have this be a healing moment, a sharing moment, and a celebration moment. Because we were all so lucky to have this man in our lives. And I think that's all that I have to say. I welcome anyone else who has words. We do have a group of musicians that I've invited, and the majority of them are represented here in the paintings. And they're not going to come play a song that you know. That's not what we do. It's about creativity, and it's about the vibe, and it's about the heartbeat of the universe, Mo. Charles is part of the heartbeat of the universe. And this art is just a physical representation of that. And I thank him for that. And you know what? Somebody said, this is only a portion of it. Like, there's so many more, and we don't know where they are. So if anybody knows, holla. You know, it needs to be preserved as part of his legacy. I don't know. I mean, let's just do it again. We love you, Charles. All right. So does anyone else have anything that they would like to say? Raise your hand. Speak now. Okay. So I do
I don't know. I want to say a whole bunch of stuff. It's not coming out. I thank all of you for coming. I want to thank Steve and Christy Smith, the owners of Seattle Drum School, for being kind, welcoming people and offering this space and their support for this event. You know, there's actually so many more things about Charles that I want to say. I want to acknowledge, like, throughout his life, he always talked about being at the farm with Granny and William and, you know, his crazy cousins in Mississippi and Atlanta and Minneapolis. Yeah, and, you know, every once in a while they'd go take their family trek and come back with some more crazy stories, but he always was talking about his cousins and his extended family. And I want to acknowledge that. Since they are not able to be here to speak their words, just know that your presence was felt and it was important to Charles. I know he worked at Children's Hospital, and some of the comments that I mentioned that were on Facebook were from coworkers from that era in his life as well. And then another era that was briefly mentioned here is he worked at Wild Rose Bar as a bartender and security person for a good handful of years. And actually, the owner of that establishment is offering that location as an after gathering, in case you feel like you need to go get a drink. And so y'all can go do that after this event wraps up. There's also a gentleman outside who brought food to be able to provide for everyone here. I feel like there should be some kind of a closing, and I've never done this before. Anybody have any ideas? I mean, the closing is the music, but does anybody have any suggestions? It's okay. Oh, that wasn't what I was going for, y'all. This has been an honor to me to be able to provide this gift to all of you. And I just wanted it to be special for you and everyone here. And thank you to my colleagues for their hard work as well. Like, y'all know who you are. So with that said, we're gonna prepare to make a joyful noise. Musicians come forth. We may have a couple of you, and you know, Mo, come direct stuff. You're gonna jam style. And you know what? If I had my druthers, I mean, we're talking about dude who like to dance like nonstop. We have it permanently in the video, and thank you to whoever sent that priceless gem of him dancing around the Wild Rose as he was working. I think what would be appropriate, I'm not telling you what to do, but if we stacked some chairs and made some booty shaking room, I'm not trying to have a whole dance party, but you're not restricted to your seats either. You know, I think the whole point of Mojams and the relationship that he had as the resident artist and the impact that he had there and then emanating out is that it's about collaboration and it's about acceptance and it's about creating energy, and I think that's what this event is about. And with that said, I thank all of you again, and I'm going to step down and stop talking. Thank you. Musicians unite. Kevin, can we get some of Charles's music that you can find on SoundCloud? He has a whole album that he produced, and that's what this background music is to his video.
Yeah. Well, also there was the jam session in Remembrance that was going on.
Yeah, that's right. You came over there a lot.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since I've seen you.
I know.
taking our time. It's not hard to take our time. Oh, with this this love inside. Oh, gonna be kind, kind. It's not hard to be something we're made of. It's not hard to see all this love inside. We just gotta be kind, and we're gonna take our time. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, gonna take our time, and we're gonna be kind. Got all this love inside, all this love inside. Oh, gonna take our time. Oh, gonna take our time. Yeah, gonna take our time. Yeah, yeah. I tried. Which one should I use? This one? This one? Doesn't matter, does it? Yeah, because it's a microphone. It's working. And I'm a singer. the stars you shine, bring her of love to all around, bring her of the beauty, a brother to all, yeah. Yeah, we walk with love, yes, we rise above, said a beautiful spirit. Yeah, your smile just shines within us. Take it down, and I know that you are gone, but you will always be by my side. Said your beauty will shine on within us. Yeah. Beautiful spirit, yeah, you smile stays with us. Yeah, it's easy to love someone with a smile in their eyes, like you do, like you do. And part of the heartbeat of the universe, your smile will be with, oh, with us, and you light it up just like you did. You shine through us like you should. Behind you, do you want a solo? Give him something. Speak, speak. this heartbeat that goes within us. It's your love, it's your love, it's your love, it's your love. It's all within us. It's your love, it's your love, it's your beauty. It's your love, shine from up, above, yeah. It's easy to love someone with a smile in your eyes. It's easy to love someone with a smile oh so bright. It's easy to love someone when the smile shines on. Easy to love someone when they carry a part of the heartbeat. It's a part of this heartbeat. Yeah, you're part of this heartbeat. Yeah, you're part of this heartbeat. Come on, part of this heartbeat. Yeah, you're part of this heartbeat. Oh, yeah, you're part of this heartbeat. Oh, yeah, you're part of this heartbeat. Oh, part of this heartbeat. Part of this heartbeat. Said you're part of this heartbeat. Yeah, you're part of this heartbeat. Yeah. Oh. Gonna keep on shining on. Gonna keep on shining on. Throughout us shining on. Oh, yeah, yeah. No, you didn't. Love you, Charles.
Someone had to do it, right?
Thank you.